Alright, today I'm gonna talk to you guys about my how I me growing up with my grandma and how I ended up there. So my parents I was born in the 80s, right? My parents they're Chicanos, whatever. They grew up in it. They pretty much grew up in the 80s. I was born in the 80s, so I was born in '83, Montclair, California. My parents, they were pretty much drug dealers. They were dope dealers. They were the plug, homie, whatever. So at the time I was born, we were living in Montclair. We ended up moving to Fontana, right? Now my parents, they were the dope dealers, whatever. They were living that party life, right? They fucked around with everything, right? They were selling everything, but they were also using it as well. But they were making their fed too. So they were selling Booyah, Yesca, Carga, um, all that shit, right? PCP. They would be getting, so they'd be smoking Sherm. They used to be smoking Sherm, um, doing Carga, fucking everything, homie. They're smoking Booyah, whatever. So, anyways, they're in that party scene, barbecues all the time, all that shit. So, my dad, he was in and out of jail at the time. He was in and out of the county. And my mom, she's always been in and out of jail, right? So, anyways, um, so I know that, I guess one time, I guess my dad gets busted. I think my mom has another boyfriend. One time, so she has another boyfriend and ends up going to like they end up getting like I think they give. Oh wait, hold up, let me back up. So anyway, they're doing all that party thing. They have people selling for them. So they're selling everything, but they're using, they're partying as well. So anyways, they even have people selling for them. People coming from Chino. People used to come from Chino. They would go all the way to Fontana because they had that fire. They have PCP and all that shit. That was what the main drug that was popping at the time in the 80s was PCP and Booyah. That was the shit, but mostly PCP, I think. So they used to do that. They used to party too. They probably did speedballs. Now speedballs, I know the everybody changes the what things are called. Like if you tell somebody if they ever mess with speedball, well they're probably gonna think you're talking about the speed bag, from the boxing gym and shit. But speedball is pretty much carga and yay when you mix that shit up. Anyway, they used to do everything, Sherman and all that shit. So anyway, I think they're watching them at the time. Like I think somebody ratted on them or they have undercovers on their ass. So anyway, at the time I think they're like what is it called? They're kind of having like a their relationship in the best terms. So they're going through shit. They're partying and all that. My dad's going to jail, and they end up yeah, they're not doing too good. My dad goes to jail. I think my mom gets another boyfriend, whatever. Everything's falling down for them. So my dad goes to jail. My mom gets with his boyfriend. He's 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 a Mexicano, right? He's he's a truck driver actually. He's a truck driver, I remember. So anyway, well my dad's in jail. My mom takes me and my sister to Mexico and shit. So anyway, she ends up getting busted out there. She ends up getting busted out there, and then we get stranded. So anyway, my dad gets out of jail, and he has to go to Mexico to go pick us up, right? So anyway, and he finds out that my mom's boyfriend put hands on me. So he ends up putting some holes in him, he sticks them, right? So because I remember one time, and then I think my dad ends up back in jail again. My mom got out of jail. But I remember that fool, my mom's boyfriend showed, he was lifting up his shirt one time and showing me his wounds. I don't know. I don't know if he's wanted me to feel sorry for him or what. But anyways, he ends up getting, and I think my dad ends up getting back out of jail and shit. He's in and out, he's in and out of the county. So anyways, and they end up splitting up. My mom and dad, and they end up splitting up. So my dad starts taking care of us, me and my sister. So so he stays at my grandma's, which is my great grandma. It's his mom's pad, right? There's a back house there. He lives there. So anyway, we go from Fontana to Chino. We started living in Chino. It's 12th and D Street right there. That was always my great grandma's pad. So anyway, we lived there a lot of years. Anytime we're in between houses, we stay right there. So anyway, my dad, he takes care of everything. He's really, he's still living that party life and shit. And, he's in the streets and shit like that. And, he's not really taking care of us the way we should be taken care of. He's not sending me to school. He's not fucking, I don't have good hygiene when I'm going to school and shit like that. And they're getting complaints from the school. He actually even sent me to school late. Most kids, they go to school when they're about 4 or 5. I didn't go to school. I didn't start school till I was about 6 years old. Because the only reason why I went, I think they complained about that too. And they were complaining that he wasn't sending me to school. I remember there was times where they had to go and pick me up, take me and say, I had to be in school. So anyway, my dad, he couldn't hang. He couldn't hack that shit no more. He couldn't work and then take care of us at the same time. I guess it was just too much for him. He couldn't handle it. So anyway, he ends up shipping me to my other grandma, which is his mom. Me and my sister, we ended up going to stay there, which is just a few blocks away. It's off at 10th and D Street, in between D Street and Chino Avenue. If you're familiar with the area, you know where it's at. So anyway, we start living there. It's pretty much, we have to adapt to this new living, right? Because she lives there with her family. She wasn't really. I know she was my grandma, but she would only come visit us. We weren't she would come visit us. That's all I knew her as. So he pretty much gave us away. So both my parents, they gave us away, all their kids. So I had other brothers and sisters, but they grew up in other households too. So while I'm living with this with my grandma, it's her husband and all his kids. It's just a new environment for me, right? This shit's all new to me, and I'm having issues. Like, I remember one time, my grandma's husband's son, I don't know if I was wanted attention or what I was thinking one time. This is what happened when I first started living there. Her stepson, right? So her stepson, one time I grabbed his hand. I don't know if I wanted to just play with him or if I wanted attention or whatnot. I took his hat off his head and I took out my image, and then I go and I throw it in the car. Right, I throw it in the car and he catches me. He starts choking me out. He's choking me out. He lifts me up by my neck and he's strangling me right out. And my grandma catches him in the act. And I'm right there crying. He finds his hat behind me because I threw it in the car. There's an open window in the car and I threw it in there. So he gets his hat and I don't know, she just yells at him, whatever. I don't think I ever tell nobody. She caught him in the act anyways. I don't even think she told my dad, right? That's one incident with him. Another incident, I think every time he was in a bad mood or something, he would take it out on me. Like I remember another time, he was dragging him around. There were duplexes that we used to stay in right there. So there were duplexes, and there were duplexes, and another time he was dragging me, and I remember one of the neighbors, she was like a hairdresser, some white girl. She was yelling at him to leave me alone one time. And he was just telling her shut the fuck up and this and that, right? So that's another time. So I'm dealing with that fool, and then the neighbors, I start hanging around their neighbors, and they're Mexicanos, right? And this fool, he once, I don't know, he did like disrespected me or something. You know, he's a fat kid, and I sock him in the gut, right? So I sock him in the gut and shit like that, cause that's all my dad was teaching me, how to fight and shit like that. So I sock him in the gut. He's crying. They go tell their family. Go tell his mom and shit, and they come in yelling at me, telling my grandma to get in an argument right there. So anyway, we had to stay away from each other. And then another time, that fool seen me, right, and then he has a knife, and he's chasing me with the knife. You know, I'm like only like in second or third grade when all this shit's happening. I'm a little ass kid, so I'm running from that fool. I'm scared because he has a big ass butcher knife and shit. So I'm running from this fool. I'm scared as fuck, and I think somebody tells my grandma, and this time he said he was playing anyways. So anyway, I stay away from that house, right? You know, and then for a while, and then we end up hanging out again. You know, I'm a kid. You know, I'm just a kid, so we end up becoming friends later on, and you know, we're always fighting back and forth. You know, we're just being kids. You know, their family, I think, was from East LA. So yeah. So I'm dealing with that, and then this other fool. So that other fool, my grandma's stepson, right? There was a couple of incidents. And then there's another incident too. Another incident. He's kicking it with my dad, right? I don't know if it's dome straight or whatever's wrong with him. But one time he's kicking it with my dad, and I'm at my dad's bed, and he's there. He's knocked out there. And my dad, he lets one of the homies borrow his bike, and that fool thinks I took it and hid it from him, and so he starts dragging me. I said, "Where's his bike?" He wakes up, he asks, "Where's my bike?" And then he's dragging me through the alley, and so he's dragging me through the alley, and he fucking my dad catches him dragging me. He's dragging me and shit, and I'm crying and shit. And I remember he sees my dad, and I bullshit you not. This is what my dad does. He goes like that, like he's gonna fucking backhand him. And so I bullshit you not. That's what he did. He's making that face. He's all scared as fuck, right? So anyway, my dad didn't do nothing to him, but he ended up fucking him up later on that day. He ended up beating his ass and shit. And yeah, I guess I ended up beating that. So anyways, I'm living there. I'm back and forth, like I'm going to my dad's and I'm at my grandma's, but I just go to my dad's to visit for a while or whatever. So anyway, we're living there, and then I think my dad ends up going to jail again for some more bullshit, and then when he gets out, I think all my grandma's, her stepkids, they end up moving out. Little by little, they're moving out, and I think her stepson ends up moving with one of his sisters or some shit like that. He was always back and forth too, like, you know, so I would have problems sometimes, but then we ended up, so they had a 2-bedroom right there. It was a duplex. So his son and his girlfriend moved out, and me and my sister ended up getting the room next to my grandma, and then I'm dealing with So I'm right next to them. So now I'm dealing with her husband. Didn't like me because I think because he didn't like my dad. So anyways, we're dealing with that bullshit. Like every night, all I do is hear him complain. I never heard a grown man complain so much. Always fucking crying and crying. She was annoying. Like I was a little kid, I could hear him crying all fucking night, complaining about us. He was always complaining about us. He didn't like us anymore. He always used to tell my grandma to us. Sometimes she would whip our ass and shit. And when she would whip up our ass and then we'd be crying in the room, he'll go open the door and be laughing at us and shit like that. So yeah, I was doing all kinds of bullshit at the movie. I was just adapting to everything.